Ayurveda. Dr. SakethRam ji. Dr. SakethRam ji is a research officer at the National Institute of Indian Medical Heritage under CCRAS, a part of Ayush Ministry, Government of India. Sir holds a BMS degree from BRKR Ayurveda College, Hyderabad, and MD degree in the subject Dravaguna from Government Ayurveda College, Nanded, and PhD in Ayurveda from NTR University of Health and Sciences, Andhra Pradesh. Sir is having over 2 decades of experience and he has served in various roles in research, education, and administration with CCRAS and Ministry of Ayush. Sir's major contribution includes integrating information and communication technology with Ayurveda. And Sir has many projects in his credit, such as the Ayurveda Encyclopedia, Samhita, which we are using and very popular among the students and faculties. Sir is one of the key person in that project. And Ayush morbidity codes, that also Sir has worked. His research spans Ayurvedic diagnostics, bioinformatics, and network pharmacology, focusing on modern computational approaches to traditional medicines. Till date, Sir has published over 45 research papers, 4 conference papers, and 7 books which are in Sir's credit. So, with this very brief introduction, I welcome Dr. SakethRam ji, sir. So, sir, the stage is for you now.
Thank you, Dr. K. I didn't see. And I pronounce to Mohan sir and all my dear colleagues at IR Goa and all students and other faculty members who have joined this webinar across India. Ajay, can you confirm? Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much. Initially, to begin with my apologies, today I have a little sore throat. So if you find my voice is not very clear, please let me know so that I can try my level best to convey a little notes which I have compiled for this presentation. So let me share my slides, then I think we'll have the presentation. Akhilesh, are the slides visible?
Yes, sir. Visible, sir. Your voice is also clear, sir. Please.
Thank you so much. So let me start with a little prayer. Sri Ganesha Sharada Gurubhyo Namaha. Vagartha Viva Samprukto Vagartha Pratipattaye Jagatah Pitarau Vande Parvati Parameshwarau. So my first slide shows great stalwarts in the domain of Ayurveda Samhita. Of course, there are many more, but symbolically I have picked up these 3 people. So I'll be able to explain why I have done that after completion of few slides. So the first one is Kaviraja Gangadhar Rai, and second is Acharya Yadavji Trikamji, and third is Vaidya K. Raghavan Tirumulpad, from different spheres and different contributions. So by the end of today and tomorrow's presentation, we will know why we have started our presentations on by remembering these wonderful stalwarts. So the today's presentation I have in 2 parts. Part 1 will deal with very general aspect of why we are actually obsessed with text actually. Why Samhitas and why we are so obsessed about text. What is the importance of it in the real world for Ayurveda and for you and me? And what are kind of legal implications we have, and those very general points. So after that, we will delve into the other relatively new topics like computational linguistics and other aspects. So this is a very generic slide I keep showing in almost all of my presentations. So the bedrock of Ayurveda is the codified knowledge. So Ayurveda is not just any random Shastra. It has its own vocabulary, it has its own grammar, it has very deep foundational philosophical foundations in Bharatiya darshanas. So we are all very well aware of that. We have studied that at a length in our Padartha Vijnana and other subjects in Ayurveda Acharya, BMS course. And of course, as a specialization, most of the Samhita students will be doing this, and Dravaguna students and many other students will be doing it very often. So we have a very strong epistemology. Epistemology is nothing but a shastra, a corpus of knowledge. It has a strong anthropological connotations. It has great cultural roots. It has a great history. So that's what makes it a little bit loaded to begin with, but it has a lot of advantage also. If that would have not been the case, Ayurveda would have not been a very recognized system as we know it today. Right? It is recognized system by Government of India and many other governments across the world, and now it is only going places. So the bedrock of all of this is the knowledge, and most of our knowledge has been transmitted mostly through textbooks or say some kind of other books, and of course to some extent through oral tradition also. So it's a mix of both. So we should be mindful of this particular aspect throughout. So that would be my initial remark. Of course, rest of them are the natural processes. Once we have such a standardized, already pre-standardized, harmonized, very clear knowledge system, rest of the things are very easy actually. Unfortunately, due to various reasons, various confusions and various levels of understanding of the rest of the terms like standardization, experimental studies, clinical studies, etc., we tend to think that we have not yet done them and we have to do it in some future. No, it is not the case. We have already done everything, and that is in the form of Samhita. Only it's a matter of utilizing it in these different contexts. So when I see these slides, it doesn't mean there is something to be done in the future. No, we are already in that future. Only thing is we have to harness that benefit. So this will be my initial remarks with respect to why we are so much obsessed with text. Raghavan Tirumulpaji very famously, he always calls Ayurveda as Ayurveda Shastra. So it is not just a one vocation. As I said, it's a very clearly carved out technical discipline. That is why we call it Shastra. It has its grammar, as I said, it has its syntax, it has its own ground rules, which most of them it shares with other Ayurveda Shastras, other Bharatiya Shastras, but inherently it has its own application of it. And our most go-to most reliable instrument is the Aptavakya. And who is the Apta? We know who is devoid of Rajatama Guna influences. So on that basis, this particular Shastra has been developed. So there's no point in questioning it. It is better understand and apply. That is where our diligence comes for. Why it is important again in today's context? You must be aware of it. The Schedule 1 of Drugs and Cosmetics Act, where what is a Ayurveda drug has been arbitrarily defined, and most of its definition relies on a set of textbooks. See, this is a glimpse of it, and this text, I'm told it is going to increase to more than 200 books now. So active work is going on in the ministry to increase the number of books. But the crux of the matter here is that everything is text-based, book-based. So we can't ignore that. And that book also is not one book, I must tell you. It is more than one book. It is a mixture of classical Samhitas, and it is also having some of the latest books like Compilation of Medicines. So there's a big spectrum of this particular text on which we are going to contemplate on today. And of course, most of the Samhita students are going to spend a lot of time of their life understanding the textbooks and also giving practical solutions out of it. So I want to make a very strong case here. So before I proceed further with my slides, there are a few things which bother me a lot, very loose things. They're nothing official or say any standard grounding for it, but we have a very loose talk in our departments, in our private conversations Like arbitrarily, we tend to define Ayurveda subjects, so-called modern specializations like Samhita, Siddhanta, and other subjects like non-clinical subjects. It is a very funny situation when the whole definition, the practical definition of medicine preparation, how to sell them, how to prepare them, is based on textbooks. And when the study of the textbooks is the bedrock of a system like Samhita specialization, how can it be non-clinical? That's a big joke. So how can somebody say Charaka Samhita becomes non-clinical or say clinical? As I said, it is a Chikitsa Shastra, it is going to be there. We have specializations for a very particular purpose, so that some of us can dedicate our time in understanding or say making others understand in depth about unknown or say hitherto unattended aspect of these textbooks. Apart from that, this specialization has not the purpose of taking the people away from the clinical domain. If some messages are sent like that, unfortunately, I think we should discourage that. My presentation, I'm going to re-emphasize this aspect a number of times during this presentation, and I want to make a case that the Samhita Siddhanta are the most important clinical subjects than any other subjects. If this subject flourishes, the rest of all the clinical disciplines will flourish with great credibility. Otherwise, it's going to be sort of some anecdotal treatment. And you can also see the latest regulations like the FSSI's Ayurveda Ahad has also around 70 or 80 plus books as listed. So that will show the importance of how much of work is required. When I say these books, most of the books, for example, if you take Arya Vishak, it is only in Gujarati. It is not in any other language at all. I don't know, as a Telugu person, I don't know what that particular textbook contains. So some of my Gujarati colleagues or somebody who knows this language should help others understand, and vice versa. There are also a lot of books from Telugu, Karnataka, and many other regional languages which are written in the local, for example, Tamil, Malayalam, who will do all of these jobs. So it is the job of our colleagues from Samhita and Siddhanta. That's where all the techniques which we are going to introduce today and tomorrow are going to become very handy. This is the very important essence of this whole presentation, that our whole knowledge corpus is book based, and we have a lot of work to do because that has legal implications. These are legal documents also. They are not just like some books for reference to be kept in the shelf. They are living documents. They are legal documents. They have to be used in a proper sense in and day out. On that note, let us proceed. Of course, I am not a Samhita expert, but my lack of expertise drives me every day. The fear of not learning it properly drives me and ponder over how best we can learn Samhitas. There is no other shortcut, my friends, than learning it from an Acharya. Today, tomorrow, or anytime in near future, this particular system is not going to change at all. In that sense, the fundamental duty of all the Samhitas departments is going to be, they are already delivering it, to create great masters of Samhitas where they can have very good command on this language of Samhitas, as well as who can learn and teach. We are in dearth of great scholars like that. And Sonepe Suhaga, if they are practicing it, it's going to be much, much fortified. So this particular slide is nothing but an echo of learning the Samhitas in a very proper way, which you are already doing. And when I talk about computers or whatever, the bedrock of all of that is this. You have to do Padapada Vibhaga. We have to understand line by line, the direct meaning, indirect meaning, imperative meaning, the meaning applied in different contexts. So in past, present, future, and also Adhidaivic, Adhyatmik, Adhibhautik. And how many dimensions as possible we have to apply this knowledge. That's how the Samhita knowledge becomes very productive. And there is no, like, for example, till today, if I am not learning, there is nothing lost. You can start today. So it is better start and better do it very steadily. Shanair Artha, Shanair Panta, Shanair Parvatama Arved, Shanair Vidya Dharmascha, Vyayamascha Shanaishchanai. We need not really rush at all. Let us do it at a very decent pace. Shanai doesn't mean delayed here, it is steady here. We have to think about the compound effect. So let us do it one at a time, very steadily, one book at a time, but definitely as many as possible. That should be our approach and like sort of dealing or getting blessed with Samhitas. This is the repetition of what I'm saying. We have many apps, many texts, but only rely on very responsible sources. Don't use any Tom, Dick, and Harry sources. Again, that will land us into more stupid problems. So better always do this under guidance, whether it is printed textbooks or electronic textbooks or a printed book. We will come to that, what kind of different printed books are available, what work is still remains to be done. So let us at least have to begin with reliable sources to work. And we started with oral tradition, and thanks to technology, we are again going back to the oral tradition. Now, a lot of tools are available where you can actually listen to a very good pronunciation and text. But my recommendation is better listen to somebody who has recorded in person. That is always better. Or you record yourself and learn. Nowadays, the recording devices have become really cost effective. I don't call them cheap, but very cost effective. With minimal equipment also, we can do high recording. Let us help each other by putting lot of audio content. The more we listen, because ours is fundamentally Shruti Parampara, then the writing and other things will follow. So let us revive that Shruti Parampara. Let us listen to our Samhitas repeatedly. Let us keep the language alive. Only when you speak the language alive, it becomes live. So we should use our technical terms as many times, as much as possible during our day-to-day conversations. That's the best way to respect the Samhitas. You are all aware of these things, and thanks to my dear colleagues, many years back, 2007 and 8, we had this opportunity to like deliver many texts into electronic format. And my colleagues at headquarters are still working. We are having this Egrantha Samuchaya portal, around 100 books we are going to make available in soft copy. And that's where many more works are still pending, and I hope some of the colleagues from this group will join us in converting these textbooks. The better clean text we have, the better for all of us in this era of AI. The person who have the data are the kings, and the soft copies are one of the assets. Somehow we could envisage it few years back, and now we are in a relatively healthy position. We have very good amount of electronic textbook available for Ayurveda. So I'll do these slides. You are all aware of these portals. This is the Egrantha Samuchaya I was mentioning. We are revising this and we are going to add more books, and very soon you will get around 100 books to browse in this particular platform. Of course, this is the trajectory from PDF to text. We have come a long way. And as I said, now we should not stop with the text. We should now be able to listen. We should have a lot of audio content now. So this is how the natural learning process happens. Whether you are an adult or a child, it is suno, bolo, pado, likho. Initially, we have to listen. We have to say it loud. We have to read it, and then we write. That comes last, right? So, of course, these tools are for quick search, but they doesn't replace, as I said, for the steady compound learning. So we should have the discipline of handling it by verse, chapter, adhikarana by adhikarana, chapter by chapter, then the Samhita, one Samhita followed by another Samhita. That is the best method. I also would fondly remember one of our recent acharyas, M.S. Valyadhan sir. He is a modern cardiologist, but after retirement, he learned Ayurveda. Of course, he did his part. He has actually opened up a very interesting area that's called Ayurveda biology somewhere around 2004 and 6, where he could envisage that the future of molecular biology lies in Ayurveda. That is a very bold statement, because I am a student of bioinformatics almost from the same time, from 2004. 2004 is very significant because around that time, the whole human genome was sequenced, and the whole world opened up with 4 wonderful letters, A, T, G, C. And of course, along with your acid in RNA, you have 5. But permutation combinations of that, and our ability to use computers to give this sequence gene data in the simple text form of 4 or 5 letters was a big game changer. All the 20 proteins we can denote with 20 symbols, and also we can do a lot of permutation combination. All the proteins virtually today can be represented only in the text format. You know, that one ability of us to provide that complex concepts of, like, for example, DNA, RNA, or say protein in some simple alphabets has completely changed the way we look at biology. And from 2014 to 2024, this decade is a phenomenal decade. And some of our earlier colleagues like Valyadan sir could see how we are going to contribute to this biology itself. In that sense, that is not a subject of the today, but what I want to convey to you is that the text and the dhvani, the sound is so powerful. It's only a matter of how you use it. Can we really envisage few years back a simple text-based computational aspect bring in so much of science in terms of complex biology, and we can be part of this great show. So that is the beauty of the Shastra, that is the beauty of the ontology, and we are already there. And I'm talking about a catalysis kind of a phenomena here. If you see, this is of course an old slide. In 2024, we have a lot of additions. A simple sleepy institute in Hyderabad, which was doing some literature and history, publishing few books here and then. Then with a little paradigm shift, there was a little question. As a young research scholar, I had a lot of questions, and there were very few to answer at that time. My question was, okay, I'm a trained Ayurveda physician. I'm not an Ayurveda literature scholar per se on that day. Even I could not complete one Samhita completely. But if I have to have access to this, what is the solution? Few people answered, few people projected, few people also discouraged. But I saw, and my team saw hope in conversion of these giant books into electronic text. We started at an individual level, very personal level. We started typing in, we had to solve the problem of font itself. Back then, most of the fonts were used by proprietary fonts. They're called ASCII fonts, which will not open in everybody's system. You have to have that font. So we were some of the early teams to use the Unicode text. We could somehow find out a tool called Baraha. We used it. It's a fruit tool. We could pay some people, youngsters, to type all the text. And thanks to doctors like Dr. Bhuvanesh, we know, who joined as officers here, and they helped us do the proofreading of the text, and ultimately we could publish the ebooks. So that's where we understood how complex it is, how complex the text is arranged, how beautifully it is arranged, how the commentaries are written on them, so on and so forth. So, and then one led to another. We understood the importance of the nomenclature, the terminology. Everything is based in Ayurveda, nothing outlandish. But at the same time, you have to talk to somebody across the Atlantic, across the other side of the globe. You should provide them in simple language, not diluting our aspects, in simple English, and tasks like that. Anyway, all of that is now past. We have very good tools, very good examples available now. Again, everything is text-based. That is the importance I want to stress upon again and again. See, one portal, Namaste portal, so many things are happening. And what do you think Namaste portal is? It is one of the recent Samhita outcomes, if I have to put so forth. So if you see Namaste portal, the whole arrangement of content is based on the Samhita. We have basic principles, we have fundamental aspects, we have Sharira terms, we have Kriya terms, we have terms on Nidana, Hetulinga, Aushadha, so on and so forth. So the whole ontology is Ayurveda, nothing else. It's only a sort of packaging to help more people understand. And we have now all the terminologies, Ayurveda terminologies published by WHO also. So let me skip through all these slides. And we are also working in our center at National Institute of Indian Medical Heritage on digitizing manuscripts and also putting the metadata online, so that if somebody is interested to take up any literature-based work, they can approach us. These are all in the public domain with the endorsement of your guide or somebody through a proper communication. These will be made available, and you can publish these works. So the opportunities are plenty. So let's understand. And now I want to come back to the real world applications of it. What will happen to all these texts ultimately? Is it only to satisfy our intellectual rigor? Okay, I know the whole Samhita by heart. You ask me any question, I can answer. That is well and good. That is required. But Charaka, a number of times he warns that just knowing the text merely by adding has no purpose. It should be put into practice. Unless it is put into the clinical practice, because ours is a Prayojana Shastra, people expect us to treat people first. They will be happy. The scholar Vaidya is treating them, it's all the more good. They know they are in the safe hands. But just knowing, just with the scholarship, people are not very happy. They want us to deliver in terms of clinic. And now we have enough tools in the form of digital health so that the doctor-patient relationship becomes better, the recording becomes better, etc. And what will be the language which will drive all of this? The language comes again from the Samhitas. The whole basis is from Samhitas only. So that haphazardous, that scary look of confusion that individual provides should be converted into a very happy digital conversation, or say conversation across the table. The patient and you are seamlessly conversing in the Ayurveda bhasha, so that they are also knowing. So if you say Patya, they should immediately know, okay, doctor is going to tell me about what to eat, what not to eat. They should know when you say apatya, oh, okay, this is not good for me. That kind of level of vocabulary is what we should use, and also we should inculcate in our patients to use. So this is a comparative chart of how we are going to actually use the technology and our Samhita knowledge to change from point of care to the point of care of the patient. So now that clinics are now slowly diminishing, they are all becoming sort of service centers where they're basically connecting points between the individual and the Vaidya. So we know that after telemedicine and after COVID, we all know that it is not only the physical interaction, even through remote also, we can do a lot of things. A lot of social media nowadays, social media is buzz with youngsters talking about Ayurveda, talking about practical tips on Ayurveda, talking about Samhita, shlokas. Such a wonderful to see. They are trying their best to educate the masses, the people about the language of Ayurveda. So obviously it is going to be the point of care centric, and the patient records are going to be the kings now. So as I said, please don't fall to the trap assuming that the Samhita is a non-clinical subject. No, not at all. It is a very good clinical subject. And if a Samhita person writes the patient record, I'm sure it is going to be the best compared to any other Kaya Chikitsaka or say anybody else. I have seen, I know many doctors. I want to take few names also here. For example, my colleague Manohar Gundet, who works in Mumbai, Asit Panja in NIH Jaipur, and many other colleagues who are Siddhanta Samhita specialists who are number one clinicians. Their clinical notes is one of the best clinical notes I've ever read. So please get rid of that myth and get back to your basics. And wherever you get a chance, in whatever the form you get a chance, treat the patient by Samhita and please record it. That's going to be a great asset. That's going to be a great service and homage which you can pay to our acharyas. And this is a cartoon where you can see all services, all concepts, all learning is converging at the citizen-centric approach. And that is the ultimate paramadhyaya of the Samhita Dhyana, right? And finally, I want to end this segment of my presentation with this question. And I will also open the session for 5 minutes because I need a little break. My getting a little throat congestion. So the question is, do we have critical editions of Ayurveda texts? So I will pause a bit here, stop my presentation, and I would like to see the responses from our colleagues. So now the session is open for a little short interaction. Then we'll move on to the second segment of my presentation. So I would like to request all my colleagues to please have an active participation. If you want to ask few questions at this stage, you're welcome. Or say suggestions or comments or observations. Thank you so much.
You can write the questions in the chat box.
Write the questions in chat box so that we can read back and answer them. You can give the suggestions also, comments also. There need not be questions. And we'll be very happy to have active interaction. Otherwise, I'm not sure whether you're able to get anything from this effort or not. It will be scary.
So participants are requested to put their queries in the chat box.
Dr. Shweta. It's very nice to hear, sir. The weight is given to Samhita. What is this? Chat. Can you guide us about way forward in literature? Yeah, sure. We'll get there. We'll definitely discuss about it. Please convey, is there a specific method for critical edition of multilingual text? Dr. Anagha? Yes, definitely the critical literary criticism is a specialization in it itself. Tomorrow we'll touch on few basic aspects of it. Multilingual text or single language, the basics are same. Of course, in case of multilingual text, it becomes more complex because every language has its own very unique like standing. Definitely the task becomes a little complicated, but the basic flow of work is not going to change. The lower criticism followed by higher criticism, that particular arrangement is going to be the same. We'll discuss it tomorrow. How to search using and or in each Charaka at NIMH portal. E-Charaka portal, that's not so complex, and it is basically a simple keyword in the context engine. You have to actually write the spelling of a text. That's it. But anyway, wait for E-Grantha Samuchaya, where we are going to allow you to search more than one word also. We are working on the technology part of it. Then you will be able to take more. When I say wait, it's not a very long wait. Maybe another 15-20 days, we are going to intimate you through Aya Goa. We'll definitely see that you all get this information about this updated portal. But for now, as far as NIMH portal Charaka is concerned, it is very simple. Only thing is your spelling should be in phonetic, and you should have this phonetic spelling help in the portal itself. So you should be able to search through that simple spelling. So with little permutation combination, you will get to know what to search. Only some Panchama Aksharas have little problem. For example, if you want to say search a word like say, Kangu, so it is K tilde G K U, some complicated spelling. But others are very simple. Like if it is Google, it is G U G G U L U. It's a very simple spelling. Dr. Darshini, sir, HMIS, though it has been ready very long back, why not still used standard across? Yeah, this is a little dicey question because there are multiple iterations of it. But anyway, the new portal is ready. Hopefully, the ministry will roll out at the earliest. There, you will get all the standardized code inbuilt. So we are working on it. But I can't comment on when it will come. I also wish that it comes sooner. Are all available TCAS of Bharatari digitized? I'm afraid not. Some of them, whatever is digitized at CCRS, and you are going to get in the E-Grantha Samuchaya portal. That you'll get information about that. Mr. Kumar, that is Yashashree. Dr. Kumar, research and practice combinations, having any standardized documentation available. This is, yeah, we don't have ready-made documents, but yeah, we do have example documents for standard treatment guidelines, especially they'll be useful for practice. And CCRAS also has one small online portal. I will share the link here for simple treatments for some around 80 conditions. So that's a very good source I keep recommending. I will share the, maybe I can show you also. So rest of the documents, so as and when there is a requirement, generally the standards are like sort of delivered. I will show you that link. That's a very lesser known link. I will share, then I will also show you that. Can you see the screen?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So if you can see Handbook of Domestic Medicine and Common Ayurveda Remedies, though it is called Handbook and Common Remedies, it is not actually. It is a doctor's manual, and we have very good list of different values. For example, you can see the Agni Dagda on the first page itself. You have some local names. You have signs and symptoms. There is a simple treatment principle described here, and there are simple preparations. They are mostly the single drugs. We have also compound preparations, Pathya and Apatya. For a starting practitioner, it's a very good source. I recommend. For a seasoned practitioners, I don't think they need it. But for a practitioner who is starting their practice, it's a very good source, very authentic, done by a committee of people some 30-40 years back. One of the very easiest to practice. Can you all see this?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you so much. So I will also share this link with you. So see, standards are something which are not created out of the way. So somebody like you and me work on them and they come into form, right? So we should be mindful of that. And whatever guidelines have, they also come with a lot of caveats. So the documentation comes with little limitations also. So we must understand that. But to the best of my knowledge, the best standard documents are Samhitas. There's no confusion about it all. You already have a standardized document. That's what I'm trying to say. They are the legal documents also. I've shown you that is a part of Drugs and Cosmetics Act. They can be referred in court of law, right? So when you already have such a wonderful source as your standard documents, why are you looking forward to something? Of course, whichever is there like this, you can use it, but please go with Samhitas. You have powerhouse. Great. I said Namaste Pol is very difficult to understand. Can you guide us? Okay. Thanks for that great observation. I agree. It's complicated. We are trying to make it simple. We'll have a separate presentation on that. Anyway, we are also having a new website now. We'll try to put as many help files as possible on that so that you can use it properly. Thanks for that comment. Great. So I think now let us get back to the presentation. Already it is 7:34. So we have around some 20-25 minutes for the rest of my presentation, because we are here to understand some of the computational aspects to be introduced to you with respect to literary research. We'll work on them. Then if time permits, we will take some more questions later. So I'm just getting back to my presentation again. Share presentation. Yes. So can you see the screen? Somebody confirm?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's visible.
Wonderful. So presentation, my last slide of last presentation was, do we have critical editions of Ayurveda Samhitas? Can somebody answer in the chat? Just answer yes or no. Can anybody answer? Do we have critical editions of no? Preeti perhaps says no. Anyone else? Okay. So we'll get to know the answer in a couple of slides. So this segment will deal with decoding the classics, computational linguistics, and stylometry in Ayurveda Samhitas. Of course, don't be disappointed. Stylometry we are going to deal in detail tomorrow, but we will touch upon it today. Right. So this segment is going to deal with the challenge of traditional literary research. I'm sorry. Introduction to Computational Linguistics, CL. Fundamentals like corpus creation, tokenization. See this. We have only Vulgate edition. We do not have critical edition of Samhitas. I will tell you what is Vulgate edition. So we have one for Charaka Samhita, that is Yadavji Trikamji Acharya's 1941 edition. After that, many books have come, but basically this is the edition which was developed by then, whatever the textbooks were printed on some manuscripts also. Based on those, this particular edition was prepared. And predominantly, it has the influence of the Bengali school, like Gangadhar Rai, and because that was the early edition which was published. What's the meaning of Vulgate edition? Vulgate edition means it's a relatively popular edition based on not many varieties of manuscripts, but based on very few regional variants of a manuscript. In that sense, mostly the Vulgate editions have an inherent problem of reflecting only ideology of some part of the country from where the predominantly those manuscripts were concentrated upon. On the other hand, the critical editions will compile works from as many number of manuscripts as possible and try to minimize the bias. It is exactly like reducing the bias by increasing the sample size. If the sample size is less, we tend to call it Vulgate edition. If the sample size, the more manuscripts are consulted, then it becomes a critical edition. So unfortunately, till date also, we do not have a critical edition. Probably we have to take it up with the help of the young scholars and institutes like IIA Goa. I think that can be a great work, which is really in want. Of course, for Sushruta Samhita, we have a couple of Vulgate editions by Yadavji Trikamji Acharyaji, and along with the Bhanumati Tika of Chakrapani. Some of the editions are there, but still I say that they are Vulgate editions only. They are not like based on extensive consultation of various manuscripts. You will understand that little soon, a little later. I'm sorry, the font is very less, but I'll try to make a sense of it. So computational, and in the context of computational linguistics and stylometry, so this particular area is called textual criticism, and this is a part of philology. Philology is study of text. So basically we have, in a broad sense, three important purposes of undertaking the textual criticism. One is goals and methods, that is lower criticism, that deals with the heuristics, that is search and collection of manuscripts. Recensio, genealogical method to establish stemma. Stemma is the root, the original root on which the rest of everything is developed. It talks about collation, that is gathering of variant readings, different variations we will gather. Emendation, conjectural correction of vicious readings. So that is in a sort of correcting if something is very much deviant reading. And finally, the critical apparatus. Rejected readings presented as footnotes. So if you don't agree with something, you just don't completely make it vanish from the textbook. You don't do that. You will mention it as a footnotes, so that if somebody finds it meritorious in future, so they can have still notes available. So in summary, the critical edition doesn't omit anything, but it presents the contents to the fullest of the faithfulness to the original author as possible as the main text, and variants and other things are mentioned in the footnotes. The second purpose is manuscript correction causes. So why we need to correct? So again, the main reason is human bias, because these are all copies made by humans, and humans are susceptible for errors. That's the reason why we always latch on to something called apta, nirajastama. We know that an average individual is susceptible for rajo and tamoguna and capable of doing errors. For example, if a pandit, a great scholar, copies from another book, so suddenly if he thinks that it should be corrected because he is a pandit, because he is capable or she is capable of doing it, they, without any problem, they will start correcting, without even understanding that they are introducing something new in the process. But because it is done by a pandit, will we accept it? No. We will do an unbiased study and we will try to go back to the original text as much as possible. So these are all like, this is one of the very sophisticated errors I am saying, but otherwise many simple errors are also possible, like mechanical, involuntary errors, like visual eye, because they are unable to read properly. Maybe there is some light problem. So some things can also influence copying. Voluntary or semi-voluntary, as I said, this is a voluntary error. Substitution of familiar words, assimilation, false recollection. So they don't have time, and whatever is there, whatever is comfortable with them, they are adding it there. It happens many times. Even we also tend to do that. Next is physical deterioration. The manuscript itself is deteriorated. Time bombs bitten. There will be a lot of holes in the manuscript, and somebody mistakes it for a anuswara, then that's going to be a disastrous thing. And people also do that. Next is scribe or redactor activity, conflation, interpolation, eliminating solecism, archaism, etc., etc. There are many possibilities. We'll get to know about them a little later. So manuscript agents. So pustaka lekhana, professional copyists. So somebody who is paid to copy. So maybe at the end of the day, they may be professionals, but they can get exhausted, and because that is a full-time job, there is a possibility that they may find out shortcuts. Semi-professional, somebody is doing out of hobby and they may not be so serious. Learned copies, scholars often copy for self-use or students. So this is basically a hobby kind of a thing. But we expect everybody to maintain the same kind of seriousness, irrespective of whoever they are. They are supposed to be, and some are actually paid very nice sums like royal scribes, etc. Irrespective of whatever is the category, we expect the scribes to perform their duty very diligently. Otherwise, you will end up doing the criticism. We have to do the criticism work and come up with clean editions of the text. And one of the hallmark, the mother of all critical editions is the Mahabharata, Bhandarkar Oriental Manuscript Legacy. And I request all of you, as whenever it is possible, whenever you visit Pune, do visit Bori and take a look at this masterpiece. You know, this book is based on 1,259 manuscripts, and that is from south, north, east, west, all parts of the country. This is one of the greatest works ever taken up in the world for the size of a Mahabharata. So you see, it has 89,000 plus verses in the constituted text and elaborate critical apparatus. It is published in 19 volumes, 15,000 plus pages in demi-quarto size, and it was released somewhere around 1966, September 26, by our then President of India, Dr. Sarvepalli Radhakrishna, who himself is a great scholar, erudite scholar. September 5th is what we celebrate as his birthday as a Teacher's Day. It's done by a great team by Sukthankar sir, Devalkar, SKD, and R.N. Dandekar. In summary, why I'm showing this slide? So literary criticism is defined by these works in India. So if you want to sort of follow an example, this is the example we are supposed to follow. They also have the Ramayana edition, but with the sheer volume of Mahabharata, nothing matches this work, right? And of course, there is also some post-production work going on in terms of preparing index and all. Some of it is printed, some of it is not printed. You can see they have 150,000 physical cards. All the references are wrote on them. Now we have the luxury of computers and we can really crunch the numbers very easily. But back then, how difficult it is. But I find great merit in spite of the computers also. I struggle to sort of prepare this simple presentation. I struggled a lot because plenty information is there. I keep assuming that things are easy, I can do it, but ultimately it is not the case. And you have to sit with each and every slide and chisel it like a sculpture. So that's where the earlier shloka, Shaner Artha, that comes into picture. Do it steadily. It is done, I think, over a period of 30-40 years, but the outcome is exemplary. It is monumental. It is like a Tanjavur Brihadishwara temple. That kind of work is what we have to aim. So let's not hurry up. We should do small assignments, but all small assignments should lead to a bigger assignment. So this is the mother of all critical editions, and all Samhita students should be aware of it. And we have its complete text available in the sanskrittext.com. If you go to Sanskrit text, you have whole of this Mahabharata available, free electronic text available there. So let me come back to the subject. Quickly, we'll go through these slides and then open our session for a little discussion. So the challenge of traditional literary research, orality and writing, this we touched upon. Fundamentally, ours is the Shruti Parampara. Knowledge was initially passed down orally through Gurukulas, mouth to teacher. mouth to ear. The learned traditional prioritized Mukhastha Vidya, learning imprinted on memory over written documents. For God's sake, let us get back to this. The whole of the memory of AI is based on some kind of literature like this, but that is all text. But oral memory is less corruptible. The mistakes are very few. The best example is, for example, Rigveda. We have only 2 versions of Rigveda till date, and that is the oldest scripture available. Why? Because everything is memorized and passed on to one generation to another generation. That is Nambudri Brahmins or say a Puneri Brahmin who is reciting Rigveda will have very little variation. In spite of such a physical separation, the style of rendering may change, but the actual text doesn't change at all. That is thanks to the oral tradition. Oral tradition is very faithful. It's more clear compared to written tradition. Let us get back to that. And when I say this, I also would like to understand that Ramayana has more than 3,300 variations because one writer writes their own version, a lot of regional variations and all of that. That is a great strength, but at the same time, that comes with a lot of problems also. Even in case of Ayurveda, we do have it. Few works are sorted out, and there are many other works which can be sorted out in future also. You will understand few examples in coming slides. So, Lekhana Parampara is a subsequent tradition. It's a relatively new tradition to India. But anyway, we have adopted it very well. We adopted it so well that now we have become masters of print also. So, I'm not getting into that details, but the last paragraph is very important. Copying cycle. The transmission relies on an unceasing activity of copying, meaning extant texts are copies of copies to undetermined degree. So one copy is copied, and when it becomes old, another copy is done. Jaina tradition has done a lot of service. They still do a lot of copying work, but of course this comes with a lot of problems. And this is where to solve this, we have invented this specialization called textual criticism. The challenge of traditional literary works. So you see the first slide, the first paragraph talks about scribal errors, which we have already discussed about. Since authors rarely created multiple copies, transmission relied on hired professionals. And of course, any service also comes with some inherent professional issues. Scribes often introduced variations unintentionally due to factors such as fidelity to the source, distance from the archetype. Archetype is the original, copying without subject expertise purely for remuneration. And next is another problem is typology of errors. Errors broadly fall into deletions, additions, substitutions, or repetition. Orthographic confusions, like for example, confusion between the and the. And similar appearing words in different languages have those problems. Different scripts and transposition, misinterpretation, etc. So now let us talk about recensions. The manuscript tradition tends to descend in parallel lines corresponding to the script. So different scripts may have different variation of the manuscripts. Copies must translate from one script to another. For example, if you are transcribing from Telugu to say Devanagari, there are inherent problems. So the scribe should be well versed with both scripts. Otherwise, there is a problem of having very kind of a typical text. That is the recension part. Redaction and revision. So ultimately, our acharyas have found solace in redacting. You know, Dridabala Sampurita, the famous CCRAS redaction, which has led to some good aspects as well as some bad aspects also. People say he has written a lot of the Kashmira Pata, and the 11th century, at that time itself, many of the Ayurveda scholars were not very comfortable with the Kashmira Pata. They thought it's not a very good Charaka version. But Dridabala being a person from Kashmira Desha, so he has added his notes. So now we have to take a call. So we have to collect as many manuscripts as possible and see. So what is the manuscript which was beyond that Kashmira Pata before? What existed before Dridabala's work? So that kind of a scope is there in this particular discipline. So the last point is Texas Simplicior versus Texas Ornatio. In comparing versions, the brief version, the Simplicior version is theoretically older, and the fuller version, Ornatio version, is later. However, complex intermixture, conflation makes reliable genealogical reconstruction, that is stemma codicum, extremely difficult. Don't worry for these keywords. I'm going to share through Ayagova a complete list of keywords which are related with textual criticism I have compiled. After this presentation, we'll be sharing with you. So what this slide is trying to convey is that there are the scribal errors are possible, but we can correct them, and it is better go for a version which is having lesser number of verses, lesser text. There's every possibility that that can be original text, and of course, in later on periods, because of the Vyakhyana Parampara, many people might have added the shlokas or say added the interpretations of the Mula, and then the text becomes obviously bigger. Bigger doesn't mean it is always accurate. It only means that it has been interpreted, reinterpreted, and has been explained better. Okay. But for all practical purposes, we should always go back to a smaller version, a little older version, to see what is the actual intention of the Acharya is. So I have a couple of examples here. For example, in this case, based on the article by Christina Peccia, so I have sourced this note. I'm acknowledging it here. So these are small observations. If you can see here, in Charaka Vimanasthana 8, the sequence of epistemological technical terms like Shabda, Pratyaksha, Anumana fluctuates across manuscripts. Modern editions like Gangadhar Rai's version adopted an order aligning with the classical Nyaya tradition, suggesting deliberate editorial harmonization. What is the meaning of it? In one of the manuscripts which Christina had, so the order was Shabda, Pratyaksha, Anumana. But in Gangadhar Rai's edited version, the order of the Pramanas is in the Nyaya tradition. Because he is a Nayayika, he was a scholar of Darshana Shastra, so he thought, or his team thought, okay, we can put the order of Pramanas in a way so that it aligns with the Darshanas. There is no right or wrong here. That is the call of the editor. That is the call of Kaviraj Sen. We are not judging them. But for their work, we would have had nothing today. So we should always be indebted to them. But when you do the criticism, you should be aware of it and you should be able to identify these small nuances. So this is one of the examples. Second is interpretation of word called Pindena. Pindena here means the Pindithartha, that is the summary. But you see how it changes in the later textbooks. It's very interesting observation. The phrase describing secret, Pinda is like bolus, secret medical revelation variants, that is Pindena in a nutshell, is preferred by the 11th century Ayurveda Deepika. In Chakrapani commentary, you get it. But other readings like Pandena, Panditena emerged later. So some people have changed it to Pandena or Panditena later. So Pindena, unfortunately, has got converted into Panditena at the later stage, which is not the intention of probably Chakrapani Acharya. The original metaphorical meaning likely became obscure following the decline of a Buddhist institution, posing interpretative challenge for editors. Again, this is also a controversial statement by Pichaya and team, Christina. So they are introducing one more confusion to us. They are assuming that it is because of the fallout of Buddhist tradition, this particular problem has occurred, probably which is not the case. It is just the copying mistake, or say the later on person thought it is not Pindena, it is Panditena, then they changed it. It need not be more intellectual than that, but see, the ultimate truth is that the actual meaning is not conveyed and the thing got changed. So even when you read the interpretation of the modern interpreters like Christina, we should be very careful. Again, she is bringing in some political statement here like Buddhist decline, and it is linking to the use of this word, which may not exactly be the correct things. But as a person who look at these sources, we should look at it in Nirajastama. We should really not buy anybody's story here. So the moral of the lesson is that we have to go back to the commentary, then double check ourselves and then confirm. That is the best way to solve this problem. But anyway, thanks to the team that at least they could highlight one aspect of it. So the last one, role of printed editions. The Charaka Samhita was first printed relatively late, that is around 1868 by Gangadhar Rai Kaviraj, with extensive commentary, that is along with the commentary they have printed. This publication, rooted in traditional scholarship, standardized one recension and interpretation. As I said, at least to some extent, this consolidates the Bengali tradition and the kind of notes which they had at that particular time. And most of the later editions of Charaka Samhita are generally based on it. That's the reason we only have a Vulgate edition, not a critical edition till date. So this is the paper which I already mentioned. This notes is from with the eye of a scholar and insight of physician Gangadhar Rai Kaviraj and Charaka Samhita. I have shared this with Goa team to share with you all. These are all very good articles, and all the Samhita students should develop the patience to read through this fine print. Whether you agree or disagree comes later, but we should have this ability to read through these great scholarly articles. The more we read, the more we get into depth of this particular subject. Without reading, only by following one or two simple examples, you can never become a chiseled scholar in this domain. And I'm very happy that we have started on a great note. And as and when I get more notes, I will be happy to share with you all. We'll see the second example. So second example talks about Sushruta Samhita. The first observation is, so I'm very happy to inform you that again, this is also based on wonderful erudite scholarship by Andrei Klebenev and Dominic Bujastik and other Western scholars. Of course, their purpose of reading Indology is a little bit politically sensitive, but they are doing great work in terms of at least collecting the information and trying to interpret in certain way. We need not really agree with them. Again, I'm speaking with a pinch of salt. We need not really take everything on the face value of it, but the kind of scholarship and the scholarly rigor they show in putting the information very structured way is great. We have to learn all these aspects. Andrei Klebenev is a very good friend of us, and all these people have worked on the international terminologies also. Very good scholars. Their guidance is very valuable for us. So this team has identified three manuscripts, three variant, very old Sushruta manuscripts from Nepal library, and they have come up with a series of works published on this. And very few observations based on them are as follows. So the Nepalese version, an archaic, geographically distinct recension text was simply here. As I said, smaller text, right? Cas Divodasa, king of Kashi, as the primary expounder of the medical system. More recent printed renditions assert the origin was ancient sage Dhanvantari, representing a fundamental reframing of a narrative authority. What is trying to say? That the smaller version of Nepalese version never talks about Dhanvantari as the Ayurveda Pravartaka, but as Divodasa. Whether somebody agrees or not is a different question, but it only brings into light that there is a variation of a text. An older text, when it is copied or recopied due to various reasons, there is a possibility of addition of some other new interesting things. Second is humoral classification, about Vata Pitta Kapha classification. We all know that Charaka does not classify, and Sushruta also has only partially tried to classify Vata Pitta Kapha into subtypes, but you see this paragraph. The Nepalese version exhibits an earlier developmental stage of medical doctrine. In a passage corresponding to Vulgate Sushruta Samhita 15.56, it omits the division of Pitta, bile, and Shleshma, Kapha, this phlegm, into 5 types, retaining only the 5-fold division of Vata, like Charaka Samhita. Later Vulgate texts incorporate the full 5-fold division of all 3 doshas, showing a secondary conceptual improvement. So this is a very interesting point. So the original simple version does not have these sub-classifications, but later on textbooks, maybe due to commentators' intervention, so these classifications were added. Very interesting observation. Finally, dating and antiquity. The oldest Nepalese manuscript, that is date back to 878 CE. We are talking about a manuscript. This has the place in UNESCO also, one of the great assets preserved in Nepal. 878 CE manuscript, almost 1300-1400 years old manuscript is still surviving likely, and we have some good critical versions based on this available. So predating major commentarial works like Gayadasa Dalhana, variants in this version enable access to an early stage of textual development critical for text historical research. So I think we should start working on these versions in India also. Nothing much has been attempted to the best of my knowledge, but I think it is the time we can work on these things. These are the finest examples of textual criticism with respect to Ayurveda. So this already I spoke, and I have also shared these resources, these papers with you all. Please go through them very carefully. So I'm concluding this historical aspect of it. Understanding the complexities of textual transmission, critical scholarship, and digital integration is the need of the hour. The challenge of traditional literary research involves navigating a textual history marked by asynchronous transmission stages and conscious redaction. So we must understand that it is not a linear process. It was happening at different places in different contexts. That's why a one fit for all solution will not work. We should have this global view. Second is heuristics and evidence. Heuristics is nothing but a statistical terms for textual probability. Modern scholarship must collect and study all available evidence, that is heuristics, including indirect evidence, testimonia such as ancient commentaries, translations, and anthologies that may attest to older textual stages than surviving manuscripts. So we can't just hold on to one textbook and say this is it. That is not scholarship, especially the Samhita students are not supposed to do that. So they must be able to work through different spectrum of sources, then take a unbiased call. Critical evaluation. Critical editions must classify manuscript evidence into defined tradition strands and meticulously record significant deviations in a critical apparatus. So this is the job of the Samhita students. Somebody were asking question, what is the future? What is the way out? So this is the way out. Of course, along with the practice. I always come back to that. Next, modern convergence, combining traditional philological expertise, knowledge of Sanskrit subject matter and paleography with modern digital tools, that is collecting manuscripts through like say, Namami, our portal, Amar portal, etc., etc. So we can take this cause forward. Critical editions based on multiple manuscripts are necessary outcomes of this rigorous intellectual labor. As I said, this is a complete open area. You can easily understand that not even one critical edition of Ayurveda text exists as on today. So we can take up these works. The whole field is open. These are some of the efforts done in the University of Vienna. Of course, they have very narrow focus. Only for Vimarasthana, this Charaka Samhita work was taken up, but they have done an exemplary work. They have collected as many number of manuscripts as possible, and they have done an exemplary work. But as I said, we all have to take, as Indians, any work of European origin, we have to take with a pinch of salt. So because they have their own colonial mindset and agenda. I'm not criticizing anybody in person, but they are not interested in the practice of Ayurveda. They are only interested in an intellectual manner. So it is just an intellectual pursuit for them. It is not really an applied aspect of it. But for us, it is completely different. It is intellectual as well as it is our bread and butter, and it is our livelihood also. It is a Prayojana Shastra for us. So again, we have to take it a pinch of salt with all due respect to these wonderful works. So we should redo all these things and do it from the national angle and with the realities of our native realities. So in that sense, the whole area is open. So this is a Sushruta project, again a wonderful project. I was talking about Klebenev and others. It is also done very meticulously, but predominantly it is based on those 3 manuscripts of Nepal, which I have mentioned earlier. Great. But anyway, I'm also happy to inform you that they are also started acknowledging our sources. For example, it has very openly acknowledged the electronic text made available by our institute, and also the Amar portal. So it is a mutual exchange. So earlier we were depending mostly on the Western sources, but now they also started consulting our Indian sources also. And it is better we strengthen this. So the most authentic information like Bori, Mahabharata, the original, the best Mahabharata, whenever somebody asks, it should be like Indian edition. It is not some Western edition. So should be the case of Charaka Samhita, Sushruta Samhita, and our other Samhitas and our other textbooks also. So let us get back to actually the new topic for which we have all gathered here, that is computational linguistics. Today we are going to only touch upon this topic. Tomorrow we are going to deep dive into it. So let's not hurry up things. So core objective of computational linguistic research. There are twofold. One is engineering applications. Second is scientific inquiry. So let us go to the scientific inquiry first. Computational linguistics provides a rigorous methodology for testing linguistic theories and developing models. Which models? Developing procedural models for psychological process of language comprehension. You see, the very first is a very in-depth application of it. it is not just merely a intellectual exercise. It has a lot of psychological dimensions. It has a lot of clinical applications. In that sense, like for example, you all know, especially the Sanskrit, we all know what are Oshtavyas, what are Talavyas. Every word is very nicely understood from which part of the mouth it is coming, what are the vocal efforts which we are doing, what is Para Paschanti Vaikari. This is very well understood. Dhvani Shastra is a very mature discipline in India, and especially Sanskrit. And only after understanding Sanskrit, the Western scholarship has developed something like computational linguistics. We should always be mindful. So if we are not getting benefit from our own resources, we'll be big losers. So that is one of the important scientific inquiry aspects of computational linguistics. Second is addressing the critical challenge of knowledge representation needed to process language, leading to structures like frames and scripts. So the whole, all large language models which are talking about LLMs and blah blah blah, all are based on LLP, and NLP is based on computational linguistics. In a sense, whatever you are enjoying in terms of AI and what other benefits which you are going to get through AI are all based on CL. So that is a subject which we are going to introduce. So this linguistics, computational linguistics is the bedrock of all these aspects. So don't underestimate the power of language. As I said, text. When I started my slides with that, I mean that. So you are sitting on a powerful discipline. So just don't imagine that it is just another occasion. No, you are actually sitting on a very powerful platform. And what are the engineering applications? Our primary motivation is the development of practical systems. So scientific inquiry basically talks about concepts, theoretical part of it, the fundamental aspects of it. Engineering aspect will give you the ready-made solutions. For example, some of the solutions which are using like ebooks are engineering solutions. And the machine translation solutions which are available, like what Google Translator does and many other tools does, is based on computational linguistics. Second is information retrieval, processing textual data like journals, reports to extract relevant information, leading to focused research in knowledge representation. All that is based on computational linguistics. Now you have a number of tools in terms of, like, for example, Notebook LM and other tools, which you can actually give a lot of text and multiple different articles and all. And you can also synthesize the information based on that. The basis of that is computational linguistics. And finally, man-machine interface, enabling natural language communication with interactive systems, particularly crucial for non-specialist users interacting with data systems. Now in today's AI era, I need not tell you, with a simple prompt, okay, Google, you can draw so and so with so and so color and all, it will give you a great painting. Maybe you have done that through ChatGPT and many other image development source and any other thing. Virtually, you can actually talk to computer like a human being now. You can speak your language. You can speak your mother tongue also. If you speak in Telugu, it will understand Telugu. If you speak in Marathi, it will understand Marathi. So that is the power of NLP. And what is the basis of NLP? That is computational linguistics. So these two are the major applications of CL. So CL as a methodological imperative. CL necessitates integrating synthetic, semantic, and domain-specific knowledge. So the advantage with CL is, as I said, Ayurveda is a very, very niche, specialized domain. It deals with chikitsa. So the knowledge representation of it through computational linguistics solidifies it. It really establishes it to score from the very basic gunas to the application of like prescription. So a big area of information is there, an array of information or say nodes are there in between. You can always connect those dots and it becomes a great knowledge representation. And what else it does? It prioritizes the research. Researchers prioritize constructing complete working systems, handling a useful range of input, often accepting approximate solutions rather than focusing solely on linguistic pathologies. It's a complex statement. We will break it down tomorrow. Though it looks complicated, it's a practical application of computational linguistics. The Sanskrit context, Paninian legacy and scholarly texts. The greatness of Panini is not just writing Ashtadhyayi, it is the greatness of understanding the meta rules. So he has created rules for the rules. The whole of today's computational language. All the programming language is based on that. They have rules, and how to use the rules, they have meta rules. And the whole of Panini Ashtadhyayi and our Laghu Siddhanta Komiti, all are based on this particular construct. So there will be a rule, there will be a meta rule, and there will be another meta rule to understand it, and they are all in sutra form, so that you can remember very efficiently and reproduce very efficiently, and you can use it in unlimited number of contexts. So like, for example, the easiest example which I can tell you is like the difference between a limited number of Karana Dravyas and unlimited number of Karya Dravyas. We have only 9 Karana Dravyas, right? 5 Panchamahabhutas and Khalini Atma, Rishak, Atma, Mana, and Disha, and so only 9, but with great permutations and combinations, they can be innumerable number of Karya Dravyas. So likewise, these small number of meta rules and rules will deliver unlimited number of text. In fact, to the best of my knowledge, Sanskrit is a synthetic language where you can literally create any word which suits for the context. You can create unlimited number of text, like today's generative AI. This was one of the very early generative AIs kind of a thing. Literally, it is Trikala Mamalam, past, present, or future. Anytime you can create a new word, you can create a new samasa, you have all rules set in Sanskrit, with which you can literally create any kind of a new expression. So that is the strength on which, so as Indians who know Sanskrit, we should be very proud of contributing to this great discipline called computational linguistics. This slide basically talks about that, and of course, Ayurveda is a subset of it. Not only Sanskrit, any of the Indian language, if you take Pali, if you take any Indian language, all of them fall into, in fact, for that matter, Tibetan also. All these family of languages have similar kind of arrangement. So let us see a few case studies. This is the first case study of Ayurveda. The analysis of classical Ayurveda texts such as Bhavaprakasha Nighantu reveals profound challenges due to their morphological richness, semantic density and structure, yet fluid format. The first example is morphological complexity and ambiguity, that is due to Sanskrit word segmentation, because we use Sandhi. Somebody has called it as super glue. In one of the presentations I was seeing, they have come up with a very interesting term called super glue for Sandhi. Because of Sandhi, our text becomes very brave. Brevity is small, but when you really open it up, it can expand to unlimited number of permutations and combinations. Why all of this? Sanskrit has a very fancy expression called, it is a morphologically rich language. What is Sanskrit? It is MRL, morphologically rich language, which features heavy word composition through 2 primary mechanisms, that is phonetic merging, that is Sandhi, and compounding samasa. So this, because of Sandhi and samasa, it comes with a great advantage of creating poetry and easy to remember things, but at the same time, it becomes complicated when we put it to computer. While the synthesis of Sandhi, combining phonemes across word boundaries, is generally deterministic, its inverse, that is Sanskrit word segmentation, is highly ambiguous and remains a core challenge in NLP pipeline. Illustrative example, for example, errors in splitting compounds samasa can lead to fundamentally incorrect morphological analysis. For instance, segmenting Rama Lakshmana may result in the word Rama being incorrectly assigned a vocative case by linguistic tools, thereby correcting the semantic context. Accurate Sanskrit word segmentation is required for subsequent tasks like lemmatization and dependency parsing. Of course, now we have great tools like Sansadhini by University of Hyderabad and many other tools which are doing it very efficiently. But some time back, this was a problem, and it is defined so here. Second example is the propagating complexity of linguistic tools. Automated computational linguistic pipelines, for example, segmentation, like etc., face success rates determined by multiplicative factors of individual tool accuracies, resulting in a low overall success rate for complex semantic tasks. As I said, we will talk about these technical aspects tomorrow because we have very little time left today. Illustrative Ayurveda example here is dependency parsing. Ayurvedic texts often in verse, they are often in verse form, that is Padya form. So dependency parsing tools generally require sentences to be converted into Anvaya order prose form. So directly in the shloka form, the computational tools can do very little. So again, we have to put them in the Anvaya format, only then they will start making sense. However, DP tools often fail if the vocabulary is fixed or if sophisticated concepts are encountered. Even when a correct dependency tree is generated, the dependency relations derived, that is karta, etc., may be grammatically correct but fail to capture the critical semantic concept. That is, Kangu is a specific type of Shudra Dhanya. So the computer may not know that Kangu is a type of a Dhanya. It may mistake it for some other word. So likewise, the possibility of errors is there, but these are all correctables. We can easily correct them. Next example is anaphora and implicit entities. When describing properties, the subject substance, of course, I'm also going to share this paper with you. I think I've already shared it. This particular paper has analyzed the Ahar Varga of Bhav Prakasha. So hence you are getting all these examples. The substance, that is Godhuma, may not be explicitly represented in successive lines, necessitating an anaphora solution system to track that the current line's properties still related back to Godhuma. At some point of one or, for example, if there are 5 shlokas which are giving the Godhuma properties, only maybe in 1 or 2 shlokas they might have mentioned Godhuma, but because of the continuation of that Adhikarana, so we should be able to understand that the subject is related with Godhuma for those 5 shlokas. So we are talking about that kind of a thing. And we have to teach this to computer. Computer cannot guess. As humans, we can make it. But for a computer, from computational point of view, this is a challenge. So no ready-to-use co-reference solution system exists for Sanskrit as it is right now. So we have to do it manually today also. In cases where variations of a substance, that is, for example, 2 types of mudga here, are mentioned only by their properties, color, texture, but not given unique names, researchers must construct unnamed entities to track relationships involving these implied substances across the text. So these are all known problems to us. We have done successfully solve these problems manually, but when we are working with computers, we should be mindful of all these problems. Otherwise, it is garbage in, garbage out. Contemporary computational linguistic approaches, parsing and data-driven models. So this is a snapshot of what we're going to discuss tomorrow. So the first one is traditional parsing and language accessors. So computational linguistic systems of Sanskrit assist serious readers by providing structured access to original text without relying solely on translations. So this is one of the very important challenges we should help people to overcome. The more translations, first of all, the problem is multifold here. What all we have is a Vulgate edition. Based on that, we have some commentaries. And based on that, some individuals made their translations. They're not really sure whether they have really understood it, and that they might be doing their independent or individual interpretations here. To overcome that, it is better understand the Moola, and the more authentic Moola we can get to, the better. So that's where the computational linguistics can help us a lot. Second proposition is the Anusaraka language assessor provides layered output, starting from the source text image and offering graded outputs to machine translation. Again, it's a technically loaded thing. We'll understand it tomorrow. Key capabilities include detailed morphological analysis, that is stem or a root, case or a vibhakti, gender, number, and assistance in analyzing complex samasa formations. In summary, we should know very good Sanskrit grammar and how to interpret a shloka by giving good Anvaya. If somebody is very well trained to write Anvaya, all this is a peanut. They can easily handle any kind of complex CL problem. So again, we have to go back to the fundamental thing. The second point is leveraging the modern data-driven models. So here we are going to introduce some technical terms. As I promised, tomorrow we are going to break it down. So modern byte-level pre-trained language models. So because this is the AI era, only one work I could come across which would attempt a byte level, that is a single unit word level training in Sanskrit. And only one model is available, that is by B5 by T5 Sanskrit model. We will understand that paper in detail. So in MRL such as Sanskrit, especially in fundamental tasks like segmentation of words and removing the errors which are cropping through optical character recognition, etc. One model is there likely, so we can discuss on that. And in the similar line, there is a need to develop Ayurveda model also. We have done We have started working on it in council in a little manner, but that needs a great many number of people to contribute. Finally, these models offer unified frameworks to jointly handle SWS, lemmatization, and morphosyntactic tagging. Next. Finally, this slide, semantic knowledge graph. So ultimately, what we will do with all these texts which we generate, so we should be able to convert them into knowledge graphs. So the graph theory itself is a very specialized subject. We will touch upon that tomorrow. So in graph, the nodes, everything has a specific representation, and whole of the computational domain lies on this graph theory. And we can arrange our Ayurveda text into these knowledge graphs. So Ayurveda knowledge graph framework, a knowledge graph utilizes nodes for real world entities and edges for relationships. So there is something called nodes and edges, storing information such as subjects, predicate, object, triplets. So we'll know it tomorrow. So we have very low success because of NLP. So we are talking about NLP transition to the knowledge framework. So what's the problem with natural language processing? Given the low success rate of fully automated NLP pipelines in generating accurate semantic extractions, manual annotation, and the creation of knowledge pages or knowledge graphs are deemed the most accurate and viable alternative for semantic tasks in Ayurveda. So we can't just talk about tasks with NLP. We have to move on to creation of knowledge bases and also the knowledge graphs. So what are the prerequisites for that? What is the ontology development? Constructing a successful knowledge graph for a specialized text like Ayurveda requires developing a suitable ontology to capture precise domain semantics. For example, in this case, Bhava Prakasha example, the Bhava Prakash Nigantu researchers developed an ontology comprising of 25 entity types, like because it dealt with all the dravya, like substance, tridosha, disease, and 29 relationship types increased by like vriddhi, kshaya, etc. So basically, we have to create a knowledge graph, and based on that, we can do a very good knowledge graph. And finally, we should be able to, why all this is required? So we can query on that particular data set. So that is required for curation and query. The resulting knowledge graph allows users to query complex relationships using predefined query templates. For example, which entities increase dosha, for example, whether Yava is increasing Vada dosha or Goduma is increasing. Like that, we can also query. So now the machine will be able to intelligently answer, not in contradiction with Ayurveda, but in line with the principles of Ayurveda. So that is the ideal solution which we can achieve. So we connect the dots from computational linguistics, from oral tradition to written tradition, and in the process of understanding the written text and all, we have developed a specialization called CL, computational linguist, and computational linguistics to NLP again to knowledge graphs, and we are creating a very powerful Samhita systems again. So the travel is full circle. So that is the ultimate aim of doing this effort. So on that note, I will end my presentation here. This is a sneak peek into importance of Samhitas, the legal importance and the practical importance and the clinical importance, and what a Samhita Adhyaya, person who studies in Samhita, can contribute to this great vocation. On that note, thank you all for patient hearing. And if time permits, we can take some questions for say maybe 2 to 3 minutes. Thank you. Namaskar.
Participants, they can put their question in the chat box. We can take a few important questions.
Is there any Samhita based AI tool available? Whenever we try to ask Samhita related questions to ChatGPT, it gives wrong answers. Yes. The last part is very much true. Please do not rely on ChatGPT at all. That's a big no-no. Because the problem with generative AI, dear friends, please understand that it generates, it does not store anything. There is no memory for AI. There is only a prediction model. They are good in predicting the next word or next sentence, and they generate lot of text. So if their source of information is wrong, definitely they tend to give wrong answers. So one of the best ways to begin with, to the best of my experience, Gemini is very reliable as on today. But don't ask random Samhita questions. You better upload a Samhita PDF and work on that PDF. That will give you a little bit of control on your source information. If you rely on the open sources where it keeps on generating, and you see, first of all, we are already facing a problem of vulgate editions as well. The reliability of the existing printed textbooks is questionable, but anyway, at least we have something. See, if some more nonsense is added on that, you see the complexity. So instead of getting into that rabbit hole of AI should be used very sparsely. Don't rely on that. And even if you are doing it, upload your own PDF, and in that PDF you do the querying. That's the best way. And one of the reliable tools again is Gemini. In the Gemini, instead of going for the open version, you can go with Notebook LM. Notebook LM is more strict with using the resources. What only it will answer only from the resources you upload, and it doesn't use it for its further training. In that sense, it is more confidential. It is limited to only your individual usage. I strongly recommend to stick to that platform than any other open platforms, unless you can double check it, or you are doing it in a team for fun. It is okay, you can definitely do that, but not for serious purposes. Such stylometry can be applied to Samhita or commentary or both. Yes, of course. This stylometry is a very fancy term. I don't know, somehow it has come into this syllabus. But I suggest that you focus more on the computational linguist aspect. Of course, we will also learn stylometry. Stylometry is basically a forensic tool, which is developed to identify the writing, or say the language of a particular individual. Of course, it also has the literary implications, but for all practical purposes, for us as Samhita Adhyayana people, we should understand and practice the literary criticism more. That helps us utilize our subject better. Of course, stylometry also helps, but it's a sort of has its different purposes. Yeah, of course, for clinical purposes, you can use stylometry. For treating the neurological cases and other cases, stylometry helps a lot. So pre and post in the same person, how the style can be improved. For example, our Medhya Ushadi, Medhya Rasayana, and all those aspects when you are studying, you can use the stylometry as one of the parameters to study. So that, in that sense, it has a good clinical application. Yes. Computational linguistics is necessary to study JavaScript, also need to study its applications. No, not at all necessary. Today, we have all no coding applications. We need not really know the any computer language, programming language for that matter. We should know the basics of computer linguistics, and we must know the literary criticism aspect. Those are more important for us. That will automatically lead to the rest of it. For reading translation of Samhita, what should we refer for correct and accurate understanding? Are there any upgradation on e-Samhitas regarding translation? We are going to provide the Jamnagar English edition soon for Charaka Samhita, but of course not much. But we have online Charaka Samhita, one of the latest and one of the very good works available to understand Samhita. Charaka Samhita, you can refer to that. But in my presentation, I clearly mentioned it is better latch on to the Moola Patha with the help of a good scholar than rely on any translation. Not a good idea. And if you can read the variant texts, it's all the better. The simpler versions, the more accurate information you will get. Thank you for an interesting session, sir. Can we conduct a literary research exclusively? E-Samhitas, yeah, that can be planned through Aya Goa. We can discuss about that. Okay, I think most of the questions I tried to read. If anything is missing, we can work on that. And otherwise, if the organizers permit, we can call it a day.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Actually, tomorrow also we have the opportunity to listen to the sir. Sir session will be at 5 o'clock. So please remember all the participants that tomorrow our translational Ayurveda session by CCRAS-National sir, the second part of literary research, and all other remaining part will be covered in tomorrow's session. That will be at 5 o'clock sharp. So I request all to please join. And again, we have the session at 7 o'clock also tomorrow. So tomorrow we'll be having the two sessions. So I can see, sir, many of the participants, they are thanking for this
Thanks.
excellent lecture. And it was a really eye-opener lecture, sir. And now we feel that lot of work is remaining to be done in the literature. including the Samhitas which we have in our hand, that also require a lot of corrections, considering all other available manuscripts. So a lot of work need to be done. So Joshi sir, please.
Yes. Thank you, sir. Thank you for such a elaborated explanation of literary research. You have covered most of the parts, and we are eager to go ahead and listen to you tomorrow again. So I just wanted to announce for the participants that tomorrow's session will be at 5 p.m. So the rest of all sessions we have conducted at 7 p.m., but tomorrow's session will be at 5 p.m. And add to that, we have one more session because 7 p.m. slot should not go empty. So we have one more session tomorrow by Dr. Mitali Mukherjee on Ayurgenomics. So it's a bonus. Before leaving, I just want to greet everyone that happy Kojagiri Purnima today. So it's a Kojagiri Purnima today and Sharad Purnima. So wish you a happy Kojagiri Purnima. Yes. So
Thank you, sir.
we'll be, yes, thank you, sir. And we are signing off from today's session. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Namaste. Thank you all participants.